I'm here with Aldo Seoane outside the Washington Mall, where No DAPL activists have set up teepees in preparation for a massive march on Friday held by the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. Aldo is with the Indigenous Environmental Network, and I'm just going to ask him a few quick questions. So, Aldo, obviously the drilling has begun at Standing Rock, and most of the people, if not all of the people, have left the camps. How does the fight for against environmental racism continue?
Well, I think we have to understand that the intersections of environmental racism and oppression in Indian country, it's multifaceted. I mean, we're looking at litigation's been filed by multiple groups, including the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center, which is the National Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence. They filed an amicus brief on this because what people aren't talking about are the intersections of infrastructure like this and the increase of domestic and sexual violence around them.
And that comes from what they call man camps, is that correct?
Well, you have the man camps, you have transient population of men coming into community, and as you bring all of these men and infrastructure in there into these communities, you're not bringing any of the funds to increase social services. So there's lack of law enforcement, lack of hospital care, social services aren't present. You have those issues. You have not only this Dakota Access pipeline issue, but you have all these pipelines all over the country that are going in. So this is beyond just Dakota Access. This is going beyond Standing Rock. This is Standing Rock calling for unification to make a change in the country and to assert our sovereignty as Native peoples and say, no, this is enough. You know, if it's the racism that's being created by them coming into our communities without our consent, you know, is it because, you know, they're not acknowledging our sovereignty and our right to clean water, you know, and they're denying our right for our own ability of self-determination? You know, is it those pieces? Is it the economic impacts that are occurring in our communities? Is it the fallout for our children? You know, there's so many issues here. So we have to band together all across any country. I mean, no one's talking about the Navajo nation. The Dene people still don't have drinking water. After the EPA said it was okay to flood that gold mine, their water's contaminated for life. Mm-hmm. They don't have water. These pipelines are bursting everywhere. We have this problem across this nation. So that's what this is about. This is about all of us coming together. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's just the focal point has been Standing Rock because that's where 397 tribes said we're supporting this now. This is the awakening we wanted. This is what we needed. This is the fire that was lit, and we're all marching together now.
Mm-hmm. And what can people expect from the days leading up to Friday and Friday itself?
So we'll have informational panels here. We have an Indigenous women's panel that's coming together. We have solidarity actions here in the camp where we're having cultural activities. Steve Tamayo from Chichangu Nation, he's from Rosebud Reservation, South Dakota. He's doing art here every day, telling about the history and culture. Every night we have the various panels. On Thursday night we have an interfaith prayer at the National Cathedral, and then all of these things are culminating. Art workshops, street art workshops, presentations, and then we're going to culminate to this march from the Army Corps of Engineers building starting at 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday, down the road all the way to the White House with a little stop in front of Trump Hotel.
And what can people do to support your struggle here?
Well, I think it's to support being good relatives, being good human beings, being good neighbors, right? Being good relatives, treat each other like we want to be treated. So if it's anything as small as, you know, liking a post on Facebook, to calling your congressmen and senators and saying like, hey, listen, I don't like this. These are my tax dollars. I don't appreciate seeing our tax dollars used to have militarized police presence on reservations and hurting American citizens. Like, that's wrong. You know, hurting Indigenous people, hurting the water, you know, that's not right. I don't believe that that's why I pay taxes. You know, we look at this issue. I mean, when we start talking earlier, we talked about the intersections of domestic and sexual violence. Let's look at this presidential administration on their stances on women's health. You know, all of these various intersections. So whatever anybody can do from social media to having cups of coffee with their neighbors, like, we just need to talk and be real and be honest and build that capacity within our communities to remind ourselves that this country, it's ours. It's ours. We're the people that they're referencing in those documents. Mm-hmm. You know, so as citizens, as Americans, human beings, we need to band together and have frank discussions of what's the matter with our world and our society and how do we make those changes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks, bro.